Hey, YouTubers, good morning. This is Rob Muffet. Guys, a little while back I did a hurricane video. Was trying to be amusing, and a few people I think got upset over it. So atone for my sins of being funny or attempting to. I thought I'd do a video on hurricane tips. My family's been here in South Florida since 1919. I've been through a few hurricanes and got a few tips, and a lot of them really aren't on the list, official guidelines of hurricane tips. You might be interested in a few of them. So I got about 20, and it's kind of a long video, but I'll try to make it as interesting as I can and quick as I can. First tip, these, by the way, are not by the most important. They're just a random order. Number one is stay away from stores. Get your stuff as soon as possible. The reason being is almost nobody ever dies from going to the store the day before the hurricane. People die from hurricanes for basically three reasons: water, getting electrocuted from falling lines and stuff like trees falling over. Almost nobody ever dies because the roof comes off, like in the Wizard of Oz. It doesn't happen. Sometimes you have a tree fall on from wind, but wind almost never does it. But it's usually water, electricity, stuff like that. But as I said, almost nobody dies from going to the store the day before the hurricane, but almost everybody that does go to the store the day before the hurricane wants to kill somebody after they've gone or while they're there. So whatever you can do, try to get your stuff as early as possible during the year and stay away from the store if you can. It's just not a good scene. It's a bad scene. The number two is hurricanes usually in the summertime. It's hot. The power goes out. Let me tell you, being out of power for a couple weeks can be a pain in the neck. But if you have a water bed, you can sleep cool. Water, take the blankets and sheets off the water bed and sleep on that cool water, and you'll be surprisingly cool at night where everybody else is going to be suffering. It's good to have a water bed if you can. Not everybody can, but it's something to think about. It's something I never see anybody mention. Also, that water that's in there, you can't drink it because usually you put chemicals in there to keep it from growing algae and stuff, but you can use it for other things. So that's a good tip to have waterbed if you can. Another thing is have a fan that's DC battery powered. There's plenty of them on Amazon you can get to work great. And you want to stay cool. That way you can make cool decisions if you don't have power for a couple weeks. Number four is people fight for water all the time before and after the hurricane. I go to Walmart. They have for $12 6-gallon jugs. They're flat. Narrow, you can store them under your bed. When hurricane comes, before it starts, you can fill them up full of water, and you got tons of water. And also, if you're kind of dumb and you stayed in a place to evacuate where the water can rise, and you're worried about drowning and you don't have a life preserver, you can empty water out of those jugs, tie a rope on them, and make a life preserver to be in the water with them. And you always want to have plan B. If you're inside a house, it's filling up with water, you want to get out. And just get you a rope and stay on the outside, away from the wind, on the other side of the building, and you might be a lot better outside than inside. Don't go in the attic. And if you do go in the attic, make sure you got a way to chop out. Number six, I've messed with the kerosene lanterns for a long time, and from nostalgia purposes, they're kind of fun, but once you go to solar lights, you never come back. The solar lights are great. Forget about kerosene. When you have to mess with the manholes and everything, just get yourself some solar lights. Number seven, self-defense. A lot of people don't like guns. I never liked them growing up. But then when I was younger, I was in the Miami riots over there at my grandma's trailer for a couple weeks before I went out to sea. Went to stay with her. Well, on Thursday, I think Thursday or Friday it started. And we couldn't get in, couldn't get out. We were in a bad part of town. And they were pulling people out of their cars at the intersection and beating them to death about 2 blocks from where we were. It was a nasty time, and the only firearm we had was my grandma had an old 25 caliber Spanish pistol. The bullets were so old they were green. I was more worried about shooting it and blowing up the pistol. But it was a nasty time. You want to have something to have as a way to have self-defense if something bad happens. Although, to be honest, after Hurricane Andrew, people were pretty nice to each other. When the hurricane comes, Hurricane Category 5, that's nature's way of trying to say, I want to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Category 5, I mean, I might stay in town for 4, but if a 5, I'd like to go to Vegas. It's but when that hurricane hit, everybody was so nice to each other. Isolated incidents, otherwise, but basically people were glad to be alive, and they forgot all their petty bullshit and grievances they had with everybody, and everybody was just happy to see each one another, and it felt good to be alive. We escaped Mother Nature trying to kill us with Hurricane Andrew. So you still want to have something to have self-defense, though. So you want to think about that. Number 8 is radio. A lot of people buy the crank radios. I have 2 or 3 of them. But to be honest with you, my favorite radio is just an old $10 Sony radio. I'll give you the link to it on Amazon. It's one of the best little radios I ever got. It picks up tons and tons of stations. It picks up the weather station. You get a few batteries for it, and you're good for a long time. Those batteries will last weeks. And it only costs $10 also. Number 9. Well, I mentioned about staying away from crowds in store, but after the hurricane, there were some, the National Guard was giving out water. And I went over across the street to get in line, and I had water, but I got in line, and the crowd got bigger and bigger. And once they started giving out the water, people started shoving. And then those people started shoving back, and then they started shoving me, and I started shoving back. And then I thought to myself, what am I doing? I'm in this crowd. I got water, and I couldn't get out. I had to fight to get out of that crowd. It showed me how crowds can go kind of crazy over stuff. And no, I wasn't water, it was ice, I remember. Unless you have insulin and you need ice to keep your insulin, you don't need to be fighting in a crowd for ice. And so you want to be careful after hurricane in crowds. Number 10, the radar that we have now on the computers, if you still have power, it's really great. You can watch the hurricane minute by minute. And if you know ahead of time what direction it's coming, you can pretty much predict where the winds are going to be coming from to plan accordingly. And it's really great, the technology we have nowadays to predict and watch the hurricanes. So you want to make sure you can watch them on the computer ahead of time. And if you know the direction of the hurricane, you can, if you do have to leave, you can plan to be traveling on the northwest quadrant of the hurricane, which would be the weakest wind. So you can use your technology to your advantage. It wasn't here years ago. Number 11 is tarps. After the hurricane comes, all the roofs are gone, and the whole town looks like all the roofs are painted blue with the plastic they have on top. But it's hard to find those tarps. You get some big tarps at Harbor Freight ahead of time and store them away inside the house where it's cool. They don't get rotted from the heat. And if something bad happens, you have a way to cover your house. You won't be able to find those tarps. A water filter. I've never used a water filter, but I'd rather have one of those than a firearm. It's, to me, fresh running water is civilization. That's the very first thing you need. And the water filter is great to have. Number 13, gas early. Everybody knows this. But in the last hurricane, I was keeping my tank empty, trying to get empty because I need to add some Techron because I have a little fuel issue. And when the hurricane came, I waited too long to put gas in. You should always have full tank. That way you don't get moisture in your gas and mess up your car. But I had let mine go low on purpose, trying to get close to empty so I could add Techron. So by the time it came to put gas in my car, I was going around and then I would go to a gas station. There were cars there, and I'd drive around, but they weren't selling gas because they were empty. But they didn't put a sign up. It was like a trap. So you waste 10 minutes inside there looking for gas and trying to get out back onto the street. And then when you do find a place that's selling gas, there's 27 cars, and you get in line, and you get to be 20, and then you see people walk up with gas tanks ahead of everybody else, and it got to be kind of nasty. So I just got out of there, waited, went home. It's get your gas early. Number 14. Well, everybody knows this. You want to freeze water ahead of time, put in your freezer, keep your food longer. But also make sure that's fresh water you can freeze and clean water. That way you can drink it. Number 15, fill up the bathtub with water. Number 16, a lot of people don't realize this. If the water is gone for a long time, sometimes the sewage backs up. People using the sewage, and if you live in an apartment building, especially on the first floor, it could back up into your apartment. So you want to get some drain plugs you can secure into your bathtub and your sinks and screw them down tight so stuff can't back up into your house. A lot of people, almost nobody does this, but it's something inexpensive you can do, and that way you can secure your house from it becoming unlivable. if you have sewage try back up into your place. And like I said, if you have water in a bathtub and you got a drain plug in there tight, you can make sure you can use that water for cleaning. It won't be dirty. Number 17, it's a no-brainer. Get yourself a solar phone charger. Number 18, there's about 14 million ways to cook on YouTube videos on how to cook different ways. But most of my hurricanes, when the hurricane came, even though I have different stoves and stuff, what I did to do minimal cooking, just heat water up or make noodles, was I took a lid off a jar and took the heating element out of my stove and put the lid down inside the stove and filled it with alcohol and lit the alcohol, and I put the pan on top of the stove and just cooked from a lid from a mayonnaise jar with some alcohol. And it was real easy, no problem. Number 19, really important one, is you want to have a good, efficient, smart way to clean your hands. I found that if I had a big water jug, I could crack the nozzle just a hair and it would drip out real slow, and I would use that to rinse my hands and wash my hands, and then I'd use something that was clean to shut the nozzle, and that way I could clean my hands with very little water. You can also use a spray container to spray your body to make a sponge bath really easy too. Number 20, it's good to have a charged up marine battery, but if all you do is have it there for the hurricane, you'll never use it and it'll go bad. So you want to have a little inflatable boat. You can use a trolling motor on it. That way you always have your battery charged up, and you got double duty. You can use it for the hurricane. You can use it to have fun, go out fishing too. That way, if somebody in the family complains you're spending money on stuff for the hurricane never comes, you could say, well, we're also using it for the boat. Or vice versa. If they don't want you to buy the boat, you could say, well, we're using this for the hurricane. That's 20 tips. This is the last tip, B21. If they tell you to evacuate, you should probably evacuate. But if they say it's a Category 5, I don't think you should evacuate. I think you should leave town. Like I said before, Category 5 is just Mother Nature's way of trying to kill you. Say goodbye, everybody. I'm leaving. Going to Vegas. Have some fun. Come back later. Guys, that's my tips for the hurricane. Hope you enjoyed them. Hope you profit by them. And hope you enjoy my videos and come back and watch more. I put stuff on new every week. And thanks for watching, subscribing, and come back more and watch more. And I'll learn to talk one day. I've only got 500 videos. I'm working on it, guys. All right, bye.